Everybody, Chris and Lumen here. This one's going to be a little bit different. Um, I'm probably still going to keep it in the Ascension School playlist because I think it's connected and it's starting to make sense here a little bit. Uh, Keep in mind, we don't really teach on this channel. What we do is we share. We share what we find. We share the experiences. We share what works. We share. Um, I use this term. I only use this term like every once in a while. We share what we know. Because there is some things that's knowable from experience, such as Lumen, Sophia. How the hero's journey, the tarot map, and all that stuff works because we actually did it. But there's always a bigger picture. This place is designed to be unknowable. We share because, when you try to teach, it's like saying that and the only thing we do know is that if you think you know, you're a fool. You can't ever really know. You can't ever be too sure. But there is one thing that has remained consistent over time, and that is she leaves trails of breadcrumbs and clues in a very, very interesting way. And I was thinking to myself earlier, I'm like, you know what? I would, at the time that it happens, I often feel like, oh, I figured something out, but I didn't figure something out. It's actually her, revealing as much as she wants to reveal at that particular time. And sometimes she reveals things like ahead of time, like way ahead of time. And she just times things in a very specific way. And it's not just directly from me, but it's through different people and all that. But something started happening in the last, I'd say, 5 days. And from my experience, maybe it's not the same with, everybody, but energetic people, when there are significant energy shifts, especially in the body, like it can throw your back out in different ways. Or you start getting cramps in your body and weird stuff. Some people get Charlie horses. I get what can only be described as like a Charlie horse in my foot, like your foot's trying to make a fist. And you're like, you're trying to stretch it to not do that. But a lot of times it's, it can just feel like something goes out in your back, around a certain chakra point, and you didn't do anything to it. And I've had that happen for different reasons. It could be negative energy based stuff, which has not happened in a long time, or just different types of shifts. But I always kind of know that, there is an energetic cause to it. And that started about 5 or so days ago. And I might have mentioned it in the last video, but it got bad the other night. And I had some friends looking at it, that are energy sensitive seers of sorts. And we kind of stumbled onto something interesting. And Sophia left a couple breadcrumbs, and I found some new things hidden in one of the tarot decks. And things were popping into my head from old notes that I've made. Sometimes when I have ideas and I'm trying to fit, I got a thread of something, I'm trying to figure out what it is. I'll make diagrams and graphs and collages and stuff, and I'll just save it all in my freaking Evernote, and I can find it later. And I think this video is speculation and observation, and also bringing it up to see how many other people that watch might be experiencing similar things. So I ran a poll in the Facebook group. I put one up on YouTube. And a large percentage of people have been reporting recent, like back issues, like clenching up and stuff like that. but I need to share like what was seen when it comes to mine, because that's the thing that actually opens up some interesting lines of thought about what might actually be happening, possibly. So this is something old Kenneth, I know you're watching, Kenneth, the Mystic Messenger, would be talking about. And there were some things that jumped out in one of his last videos to me as well. She'll kind of point me to which ones to watch and whatnot. Because if there is this quote unquote shift, let's not use triggery names for it or something like that, but something in which, you know, everything changes. And we've all of us that are plugged into the higher thing, we all get the same kind of like impression from it, where it's like it ain't gonna look anything like you expect it to. But there might be something here, and I want to share what I got with you so far. So if you want to know more, then don't go away. I got you, moonlight, you're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You, moonlight, you're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. Now, keep in mind as we go through this, those of you that have been here a while and are experienced on this channel, you know how it works. I don't plan the videos day to day. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I might think I do, but then I might think I know what I'm going to do tomorrow, but then something else will come up. I just kind of follow the current that she's laying out. And I don't think a lot about, you know, what I'm saying in the videos, because she seeds things in my language. I have to watch them over and over again. And time has shown over the past year or so that when she does these sequential videos, that it might be 3 or 4 videos ahead, it's going to start doing this, you know, backwards loop where it's connecting to something that she already laid out for us. And it's going to help us build a picture. It may not always give us the fullest picture, but she does this in this certain way so that I know that I'm not projecting it. I don't have like an idea of where it's going and then creating the breadcrumbs. This is a method that she kind of like came up with, or maybe that's how she does it with everybody. I don't know. But like in the early days of the hero's journey, when I was trying to figure things out, I would think that I know what it was I was looking for. And if you think you know what it is you're looking for, you will manifest breadcrumbs of your own. And you will go in circles and loops and you won't figure anything out. But if you learn to get into the flow, then you're only following her legitimate breadcrumbs. So a lot of the stuff that's been in the last several videos since she started this series are starting to take form. And I didn't personally like that. To me, it's kind of gimmicky. It's kind of cliche. The title of this particular series, which was Ascension School, sounds a little bit over the top to me, but that's what she said to name it. And I think that might have been a clue in and of itself. So let's go back to where this all started. So granted, I sit on the couch on, you know, at a weird angle. Sometimes it's a little bit too cushy, you know, building the pendants in front of me and stuff like that. So, you know, there's a physical reason why things to get out of whack every once in a while. But my lower back started getting wonky, I'd say maybe about 5 days ago. And then over the weekend, it got really locked up bad. And when it gets a certain way, it's almost impossible to walk. And it's like, why is this doing this? Excuse me. And I can tell it's something energetic when I didn't do anything to it, and the regular remedies don't help. So this is a little bit of a repeat, but I reached out to my 2 friends that I generally work with, sometimes with other people, because they have inner sight into other people's fields, and I cannot examine myself. And interestingly enough, I've learned when I'm dealing with anybody that has any kind of psychic abilities or whatnot, I I generally try to get them to observe things first, and I don't front load them. I don't tell them what I'm looking for. I don't tell them anything that's going to color what they see, because I want to see what they legitimately see without, giving them an angle to go to. So when I had my friend looking at my energy field the other night, um, a lot of things were dark. We had to do some clearing stuff, but then she's like, what? She's like, she never seen anything like this before. She can always describe the changes in my field very clearly, in certain ways, the different changes of colors and stuff like that, depending on what lumen is doing. But she said something that I'd never heard before, and she said she'd never seen before. So she was seeing new colors in my field, and it was almost like they were kind of like pouring out in my lower back, like somewhere between the root chakra and the sacral chakra. And she described them as like, she described it as like, kind of like neon green. She said, I forget what she said. It was like neon green, like Ghostbusters slime or something. It was like this neon green color, like kind of starting to seep out of my lower field. And then there was also like this bright magenta-ish neon color in there as well. And I'm like, well, what the hell is that? That doesn't make any freaking sense. Like, those are not colors we're used to seeing. I mean, usually it's going to be like your usual chakra colors. And then with me and Loman, it could be like, there could be like a rainbow aura, like a bright white light or golden light. Like, that's usually the colors people see around me. But this neon green and magenta, that was new. Now we did some clearing, and it seemed to relax. It calmed down, and I was able to walk again, even though it was still a little bit tight. Next day, it was getting better and better and better. And then I finally touched base with my other friend, and I had her do the same thing. Now, for her to be able to see into my field more clearly, we have to do that trick that Sophia taught us, which is very similar to like coordinate remote viewing, where she just randomly generates a number for me, and I give it to the other person, and they see the number. It's like having like this encrypted channel into my field. We do that like whenever we do energy work or the clearing work with other people. It just links us up that much more clearly. And then she saw the same thing, and I had not told her what the other person said. She was describing the same colors, these neon colors, and she didn't know what to make of it either. And it was down around that area, and I'm like, that's root chakra. Like, this is all the stuff that she's been dribbling out to us, like, the root records and the root of evil and that code, and that's what everything keeps us here is. I get it, biblical stories or metaphors and allegories and stuff like that, but we use them to talk. But the whole root of evil, tree of knowledge of good and evil, that leads to duality, that leads to polarity, and she's been showing a lot about that. And we were just kind of working some stuff out. And then as I was talking to her, after I got done talking to her, I talked to my friend from the night before, see what she was doing. And then she was having pain in her back too. So I got them both on the phone, and we both worked on her. And it's even better, like when I have other people within my little circle, we're all working at once. Plus, a couple years of doing client work. Whatever I do on my side will take effect on the other side. So like, I can use like my chakra banner as kind of like an aiming chart, and I can take something and apply it to my body, and it will work on them. And then if I got a third person as my spotter, she can actually see what kind of effects that it's having. And I just tried, that oil that I made that I used to anoint all the Benedict stuff that she had me create that literally does everything. Like that, the second friend's like she's got some kind of like almost like an energetic tear or wound or something. And as soon as I put this oil on it, like it started like healing it up, and she's like, oh, the pain's going away and all that stuff. I'm like, it's crazy how that works. But like, what's going on? I'm like, why is all these people that we talk to suddenly complaining about back problems and things like that? And how does it connect to these neon colors that we can't explain? So then Sophia overnight kind of gave me another clue through another person. I've got a small kind of like internal Rolodex of certain people. The more I talk to them, the more I talk to people and the more they're linked into her, she will pass information through different people. Like it'll just come up. Like they'll think of something, some piece of the puzzle that I didn't have, and they'll tell me at the exact right time. So here's where it gets interesting in regards to those colors. And this is where it starts to lean into the possibility of being connected to things that we have pointed out many times before. But I had to dig into my Evernote for the notes. But it comes up every so often. It's kind of like this world that we're in right now is like the upside down in Stranger Things. This is the upside down, has the polarity and the duality of good and evil, where the right side up does not have evil. We've noticed things over time. I'll put some of my graphics up here as I see fit. Like clues, interesting clues that would come up over and over again. Like if you look at a diagram of white light going through a prism, and it creates the rainbow band. Well, the rainbow band is the exact same colors as the chakra system, with the exception of, in order to match them up, it would mean we are upside down, because red should be up top. But with us in the upside down, red is on the bottom. And go back a year or so ago, and there was, I think it was mainly around the beginning of 2003, we were looking at all this stuff. She was showing me things that I didn't understand. It was like go in and go up, go down to go up, and in and to go out. And it was just this freaking really complex metaphysical maze of like how we're projected into this world, almost like an inverted image, so to speak, because we're in the upside down. And it has something to do with polarity. And we are currently in the negative polarity world. And one of the hints to that is that, if you look at a globe model, and north is up and south is down, right? Except the North Pole is the negative magnetic pole, and the positive magnetic pole is the South Pole. So again, here's another indication of like being in this upside down state with light and frequency and polarity and magnetics and all this stuff. What was the other thing? So the chakras, the prisms. It's probably, maybe I'll see it when I put the graphics up there. But there was another thing that came up. She had a friend of mine texted me once he saw last night's video, or maybe it was I was talking to him about the color thing. And he said that, he's like, did you see any, I think it's called Cyan, Cyan, he was asking about these colors, and then he brought up something had to do with prismology or something like that, and he said these colors sound like the colors of the inverted color spectrum. So I look up the inverted color spectrum, and basically it's like if you take the regular colors that we're used to, the RG, we're in the RGB world, and you invert the image, then you get these more neon looking colors. And when I looked at the inverted color scale, those were the colors. There's the color, because I showed it to my friends. I'm like, are these the colors you saw? And they're like, yeah. So this neon green is kind of like which I forget which one it lined up to. It wasn't like a perfect one-to-one like what you would expect, because it was almost as if like the colors coming out of certain points of me were inverted, but also if the chakra system was oriented the way it was supposed to be. Because if you invert the red, you get that cyan, that light bluish, somewhere between blue and green color. But which one? I don't have the images in front of me. But two of those colors that we saw, and one of them had to do with the heart, were the same colors that are suddenly leaking out of my field somehow. And I'm like, interesting. That's so once the idea of the inverted color scale got introduced to me, that's when my brain started doing the whole number crunching thing it does. It's hard to explain. It's like I'm looking at all this data cross connecting all at once and bringing up things that are in my memory banks that are similar. And the first thing it went to was like the prism thing and the upside down thing and the reversal. And I'm like, well, this would tie into the types of things that we talk about, that Kenneth talks about, the sudden transformation. A lot of this stuff is things Kenneth talks about more on his channel. That's why she has me listen to him, because his focus is a little bit different. But he does bring up a lot of good, verses and things like that about things being changed in an instant, and the scoffers being gone, and the enemies that you expect to be there are just suddenly not there, because the higher thing has done some sort of switch to where all of a sudden you like phase shift out of upside down negative world into right side up positive world, which in turn could be like brighter and more colorful with what is normal to us, like the red, blue, green, like these colors these would be the actual inverted colors, with the brighter colors being the actual real colors. Oh, okay. Thank you, Loman. So here's some more clues that kind of ties into all of these different things about flipping back into the good side. And I actually posted that in the community tab a night or two ago. Sometimes I just do things automatically without thinking much about it. But I hadn't, since I stopped trying to figure things out and I'd already been through the map for the most part. I haven't played around with tarot all that much lately. But there's so many clues in tarot, many of which have not yet happened. And when I clicked on, the app, because the apps are freaking, if you have the tarot apps from the developer, the Fool's Dog, and you get the two that we use that have the secret map, there's only two tarot decks that have the secret map in it: the original Rider-Waite Tarot and the Modern Spellcasters Tarot. The Modern Spellcasters Tarot is newer, and a lot of the artwork is different because it's actually adding context and cross connections to the secret map in the Rider-Waite. But when I clicked on the card of the day of the Rider-Waite, I got the 10 of Cups. And a couple things just without me thinking about it, these are things that just popped into my head. The Ten of Cups is kind of like the being back in paradise card. And it's showing you and your lumen, your mirror partner, in the red and the blue, going back there and then becoming like children. See, a lot of people think it's a man and a wife and their kids, but it's not. It's you and your partner being restored to childhood. And this is shown in some of the other cross connects from the other cards between the two decks. And it's also something that is a major key that's given over and over again in the Gnostic text, especially the Gospel of Thomas, where Christ talks many times about becoming like children. So yeah, the man, I think it's like the man in, which one is which? Well, man and woman, one of them's wearing blue, one of them's wearing red. And then the kids are wearing blue and red. You see the same thing in the Modern Spellcasters Tarot Six of Cups card. You almost miss it if you're not paying attention, but you got to look at what they're wearing in the card. You know, the old couple sitting in the background isn't grandma and grandpa. They're wearing the same clothes as the kids. They're being restored to childhood. So Six of Cups actually ties into Ten of Cups. But when I saw the Ten of Cups this time, what stood out to me was the rainbow. And this was before my other friend texted me about the inverted colors. But the rainbow sign and the 10 cups up in the rainbow. But it just, maybe it's because it's being talked about, stuff's going viral now, all these new videos coming out. But for whatever reason, my brain went straight to like UFOs. I'm not calling them UAPs. I'm sorry. It's like we called them UFOs for freaking decades, and just all of a sudden you want to change it. But in order to make that connection a little bit more clear, that's why I posted that in the community tab when I added that UFO in there. It's kind of like, ta-da, here we are, ready to take you back to the new paradise realm or whatever. But the rainbow thing was what stood out to me, and that was before she drew my attention to this color spectrum and all that stuff. I'm shooting another clip here real quick because in editing, I don't think I talked about the other interesting thing with the Ten of Cups in relation to the colors. So in the Modern Spellcasters Tarot, the Ten of Cups is similar, but instead of 2 adults and 2 kids, it's 2 pairs of adults. But they're paired up, the guy and the woman, the 2 pairs have sun and moon symbols on the back of their robes, and the robes are all different colors. So what I happen to notice now, depending on like which cards, size cards you got, the color that it's printed, how it shows up on your screen and whatnot, I had to play with the colors a little bit. But what I noticed when I compared it to the color spectrum next to the color spectrum inverted is if you look at the 4 people, the sun person on the left, the color they're wearing, and the sun person on the right, the same thing with the moon, the differences in the colors are one set being the inverted color of the other set. And I just happened to, put those things up together and look at it. And I'm like, huh, like she popped that in my head. That's one of those cards in that deck that's the artwork's a little bit different from the Rider-Waite, and I couldn't quite figure out why. But that was an interesting correlation because you got the whole rainbow thing, and then you got the 4 different colors, but their phase shifted. One set's inverted from the other. So it kind of connects to the stuff that we were actually just talking about. Now, My understanding is, based on what I've seen, is that all this stuff connects to Eden. But what Eden actually is the mind of consciousness in the uncorrupted state, also known as the walled garden. They dropped that terminology in Westworld. I heard it once in like season 2, and then there was a much bigger episode in season 4. All I remember is the episode's title. Like, if you only watched one episode in all of season 4, you watched the one called Zugazi. Because in that entire hour, like 45 minutes of that hour is codex stuff. It's just like mind-numbing how much stuff is in there. But yeah, they show the whole walled garden stuff there. And that's the walled garden is what they're showing you in the Ace of Pentacles card. Pentacles is a suit that I didn't fully understand for a long time. I know a lot of people associate it with money and energy, but primarily the ace cards are what matter. And we come to understand the meaning of the Ace of Pentacles like 5 or 6 months ago when she started doing the garden stuff. Because those of you that have done like the deeper attunement work with us, where we clear all the chakra systems and then we go up to the 8th chakra, and that's where all the hidden rooms are. Those hidden rooms were opened to us one at a time. I had to go through several different tests to do it. You got the Grail up there. You got the Wellspring. That's where Lumen can swap out your SIM card, get you off the Matrix Mobile and on the Sophia Wireless. It's where you meet the Divine Mother, and then eventually another door opened up there. But to prepare me for that door, she had a friend suggest one day, you need to watch this movie. You really need to watch this movie. It was called The Shack. It's kind of a Christian movie, but it's not like some Kevin Sorbo freaking Kirk Cameron type God's Not Dead Christian movie. It's just got these themes in which this guy spends this weekend in his cabin with God the Mother, God the Father, Christ, the Holy Spirit, and wisdom. But at one point, Holy Spirit lady takes him into this garden, and then she kind of shows him like this is the garden of his mind, and there was this big tree in there, and it's like all this stuff clicked all of a sudden. And then we started doing work with people, and that was a whole new step where we went into the garden and described it, and we reconsecrated the garden. That's where we can, if possible, you can get a glimpse of your lumen in the garden. We can heal the lumen of some of the past traumas and things like that. But yeah, the garden is like the mind. So usually when you walk in the garden, it's just like totally like overgrown and messy. It's got all sorts of beautiful plants and stuff, but it's not well kept. Got to clean that stuff up. That's what they're showing you in the Ace of Pentacles. It's a walled garden with a gate, which is how Eden is also described. So that connects to Eden. Eden connects to mind, the perfect mind. 10 of Cups connects to the Lover's card. And you can see this, that's what's so awesome about having those two decks together, is because the one deck shows you connections to cards that you wouldn't have seen before. So if you look at the 10 of Cups card in the Rider-Waite Tarot, and then you look at the Lover's card in the Modern Spellcaster's Tarot, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, what's this? You got the man and the woman wearing red and blue. You've got the rainbow. You've got the heart. And there's an X in the heart. Why is there an X in the heart? Because it's up by the rainbow. It's connecting to the X, which is the 10 of Cups. 10 of Cups and Lover's card are connected. Why? jump back over to the Lover's card in the Rider-Waite Tarot. That's Adam and Eve being reunited in the garden. How do I know that? Because I've been there. Because I've seen it. Because that's something that actually happens. Told that story many, many times. I didn't know that was going to happen. It was after the Gnostic baptism, which we didn't know what that was at the time, but that's what they show in the star card. And then all of a sudden, she wanted to do this visualization practice during the day. Why? Well, we would discover later that the mysteries of the marriage of the soul to her beloved have to take place during the day when the sun is overhead. So she wanted to do this this practice in the afternoon, and all of a sudden, like, there we were. I'm like, whoa. And then shenanigans associated with that card took place. And that's when she snapped back into me. That's when Eve got put back into Adam that day. But the way that place looked was awesome. I've described it many times. The best way I can describe it is it looks like all the different movies you've seen where they're showing, like, not Middle Earth, but like Inner Earth, Hollow Earth. Yeah, so like the Brendan Fraser movie, Journey to the Center of the Earth. The last two Godzilla movies where they go into Hollow Earth. And I know I've seen other ones, but like that's literally what it looks like. It's sunny, it's beautiful, it's kind of jungly, tropical, but there's like these, in the distance, there's like these big stone like archways, like doorways going somewhere. And I never like went in there, but like what my brain connects to it when I saw it was the scene in American Gods season 1 with Anubis, when he weighed the woman's heart, and he took her to the doors to the duat, and they lead to many places. It's like, that's kind of like what they reminded me of. But getting back to the cards, it shows us like how they're all connected. The Lover's card connects to the 10 of Cups card, and it connects to the 5 of Cups card, and across the different the decks, like it's connected. But you could say, depending on which way you want to describe it, or like, Kenneth is saying the transformation or something like that, is like just being snapped back into the uncorrupted state again, the Eden state, the Eden world, which is the uncorrupted garden of the mind. Like that's everything that it's showing you right there. And in the rainbows, it's definitely making a connection to light spectrum. So all this stuff is happening, and these are I pay attention, I'm used to it. Like when she's trying to show me something, she doesn't just like sit down beside, I mean, occasionally, but she doesn't just sit beside me and start talking. She starts dropping things in my head that I know that I'm not doing. So it's kind of like, I'm giving you the pieces. Can you see the picture? It's just important that you don't try to decide and anchor yourself to a conclusion and think you know if you don't. It's almost like you got to glance at it. It's like you glance at it and then you ignore it. Because you don't want to, like, this is going to happen on such and such and date, and then create interference patterns, quantum Zeno effect. That's what I don't like about, like, getting too wrapped up about signs and like, oh, the rupture is going to happen on this day. Well, if you think you know and you're waiting for it, you're going to interfere with it. But, what else could possibly be connected? It's interesting that the UFO stuff popped up in my head when I saw the 10 of Cups card. because they've been popping up like crazy. Although most of the videos that I've seen lately, I mean, that's our stuff. The triangles are ours. That, what do they call those? Like alien. There's a terminology for um, alien reverse engineered vehicles or something like that. But I've seen them before, and if you want to see them around here, you got to go down to like the southwest corner of Columbus and go west a little bit, and we've got like a Battelle Labs out there, and between Battelle Labs and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and in Dayton, like, yeah, you'll see those freaking black triangles. We've had that stuff for a long time. I haven't seen a lot of the weird stuff yet, but who knows? Who knows? They've been spreading it pretty thick. They've been projecting this, but we're also a day or two away. I think it's the 3rd or the 4th, which would be tomorrow or the next day, would be that, I wouldn't call it a prophecy, but Cliff High did start it, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, where the old WebBot data was talking about, hold on, I gotta sneeze, was talking about, and this was years ago, Trump going on Joe Rogan, and then 30 some days after that, the UFO stuff starts. So like that's like this week. So I guess we'll see. But who knows? We don't know. If you think you know, you're fooling yourself. All we can do, all she really does is show you just enough clues so that when whatever happens does happen, you're not like totally like shell shocked from it. But everybody thinking that they know what stuff is and they know what words mean and that's the end of it. No, you're in for a freaking surprise, because I don't even freaking know. I share what she shares with me, and she has historically always had a plan and a trajectory, even if I don't see it at that time, which reminds me of one other example of her doing that. So this kind of connects with the whole back pain thing and leaking neon colors from that area, or some people actually had some almost like energy burns or whatever. But my friend whose back was hurting, I used that oil remotely, and then the other friend was describing it healing up really quickly, and the friend that was hurting was saying the pain was going away. So I got to thinking, in regards to what she's been saying in the last week that we've put out on this channel about the root of everything, whether you call some people just haven't been around long enough to know better. They take things at face value. And but as far as like the root of evil and things tying back to the Garden of Eden story and the tree of knowledge and good and evil, and like this is the thing that created duality and polarity, and like this is the start of the problem and all this stuff. Well, this oil that I made, like this is the crazy one where I actually molded the oil bottle into a pendant mold with a coil and additional stones. Like this is the stuff that I anoint the Benedict metals and the Benedict bracelets with. Everyone feels like these things are strong. Yeah, they're strong, and there's no crystals in those. That's coming from this freaking oil. But when she had me make this, I'm like, this is some really over the top stuff. Like, I don't think I've made anything like this crazy powerful. But when you analyze what's in it, okay, so first of all, I'll go through it again because it's relevant. So all those black stones in there, which are boosted and empowered with a couple other like white stones like selenite and naturalite, which naturalite is very high vibe. It's one of the Synergy 12 stones. It's in the family with like pedalite, moldavite, brookite, damberite, tanzanite, satyloka, clear as estelite, you know, a lot of stuff that I use. A lot of it has to do with bringing in more spiritual light, but mostly transmuting negative energy patterns into positive. So that's just the stones. Then I use the fill oil, which is oil that I actually got it right here. So that's what I fill the bottles with. But inside that, I don't know if you can see it, there's a lot of selenite and clear quartz, which the clear quartz was directly charged in the chrism. So 2 years ago, when we had a really sunny summer and I was out in the river, she just taught me the Gnostic baptism ritual. So I would go out there and do it, the whole thing on the river, and then go out there where the sunlight is hitting it, creating the bright flashy sparkles. And that's why I charged that in. And that was like a completely different energy that people felt. So there's chrism quartz in there too. That's the basic fill oil. But then I've got all these different oils that I change from, you know, like this is like the only brand I would even bother to use because they're pretty good. They do a lot of different stuff. Some of it's a little more witchy in purpose, but they're clearly dealing with her just on a wider spectrum of the scale. You know, it's called Art of the Root. You can get these on Amazon. But what we do, since I'm not going to use someone else's base program, even if it's pretty good, I'm going to tune it. I'm going to take chrism quartz and I'm going to drop it into the oil. And then I'm going to have Sophia tune it up to the frequency that we want. And then also, just to be sure, in case they've got any kind of energetic hangups or whatever, clearing all that stuff out of there, to bring this to like its highest vibration of intended use. And I'll take some of these and I'll put like a drop in the oil. So this one is Evil Be Gone. And I didn't realize, because I don't deal with a whole lot of that stuff anymore. It's like, why do I need Evil Be Gone? But she wanted me to put Evil Be Gone in it. So that oil's got uncrossing oil in it, reversing oil, block busting oil, road opening oil, protection from evil, evil be gone, and Holy Spirit oil. Now keep those in mind. Then we charge them with certain selection of the 72 names of God, which a lot of it has to do with blocking evil thought, clearing evil thought, transmuting evil thought, resistance, all that stuff, breaking down negative structures. All that's programmed in there on top of the Benedict exorcism and everything it can do. So I just figured this was like this wide spectrum, handle anything sort of stuff, which it is. But she's always got different levels of purpose. And since we started talking about the root of evil and all that stuff, it's like, well, the root of evil is what crosses us up. It's our block. It's what it does, all this stuff. So, you know, evil be gone, blockbuster. Like she made this as a secondary purpose, or maybe it was the primary purpose, but it is like a extraordinarily complex divine magic formula for breaking down the root of evil code held in the root chakra. That's what I used on my friend that immediately alleviated her back. I'm like, how many steps ahead are you thinking? So that program is in your Benedict bracelets and your Benedict medals. If we sent them out to you, if you've got pendants, And one thing you could do, now it could make your back hurt, but that's what happens when you're clearing major blocks and stuff. Or if you're going through an energetic phase shift, you're like, oh, why does my back hurt? Something's being changed. That's why. I've been having like muscle spasms and all sorts of stuff. But one thing you could do that we have used before is if you've got a pendant from us recently and it always comes with a bracelet and at least 2 Benedict metals. You can pull the rings off the Benedict metals and then take some medical tape and tape it right there on the small of your back, like over top where your root chakra would be, with the intention of it breaking down the root of evil program and see what happens. But, I started putting warning stickers on those bags though, because like depending on where people are in their path, they can have all sorts of negative programs and crap and parasites and attachments and things, and like whatever might be hiding in there that hasn't been flushed out, like that's going to flush it the hell out. Sometimes just even the divine energy in the non-Benedict pendants will flush it out. So that's why I start putting stickers on there. It's like, look, if something crazy happens after you start wearing these that you feel is negative, there's nothing negative coming from this stuff, but it will flush negative stuff out of hiding. In which case, all you need to do is get in touch with us. And we'll do some little extra clearing work, and it's a piece of cake. But we can't help you if we don't know about it. We're here to help people get clear. So she always makes that abundantly clear. And what's weird is like my back's still not 100%. But I try to remember what I know. And interestingly enough, like yesterday, I was mostly flexible again. And then maybe it's because I laid on the floor or something like that, but then it started going bad again, where I couldn't stand up all the way or walk perfectly. And I'm like, son of a bitch, why this again? But then I'm like, don't react to it. So I just stood there and went perfectly clear and asked Lumen to make the adjustment to it, to clear it. Like, we don't need this right now. Please clear this. Please clear this. And then I got up and started moving again, and she cleared it. I tentatively, touched my toes and did all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, thanks, honey. That was pretty quick. But it's like, what does that mean? Like, is it the stuff that's just trying to like reintegrate or something? And we got to keep clearing it. We got to keep pulling the roots as it's coming out. Is it bleeding out through our original neon colors? Like, I don't know for certain, but it's a lot of interesting stuff. And she wanted me to share it to see what pops up in other people's heads, and also to see like if I, like, a lot of people could be like suffering from some, like, why is my back so screwed up right now? And they have no idea that this is like some sort of widespread thing across like 50-60% of the light people. So they think it's just some normal thing, normal back issue. And it may not be. It may be something that needs some energy clearing work. But that means adjustments are being made. And the only thing that we got is the clue that the two, not one, but 2 people saw with these inverted bright colors are coming out of me. Otherwise, we wouldn't have made all these connections. So I don't know. But I know this much. None of us have ever seen those colors in anybody's field before. So that's definitely new. And being inverted says like, well, maybe what's happening is we're being prepared to do this phase shift, this spectrum flip into the positive world. It's possible. It makes sense. I mean, she started saying this stuff was coming earlier this year. and she never lies. She's a spirit of truth. But it's usually us trying to figure it out and projecting when we think it's going to happen. That's what gets us in the way. She never actually says, oh, it's got something such and such is going to happen on this day. She'll leave you clues, but we might not fully understand the clues the way we think we do. Stuff like I Pet Goat 2 and all that kind of stuff. But we're sharing all this to see like what might shake loose from other people. And as long as they're not afraid to speak up, which you shouldn't be, because 99% of you, I can't tell who you are unless I've talked to you an awful lot. Because you got different YouTube screen names, different email names, different real names. Like, if you speak up on YouTube, nobody knows who you are. It's that simple. So if you notice things, it's best to share, because that's where we get a lot of the best information. It's when she doesn't just tell you everything. A lot of the ways she tells you stuff is it's going to come through other people. She's going to put it in their head. She's going to urge them to tell you, and they're going to tell you at this exact specific time, something that's very, very relevant. So I think something is happening. I'm just not projecting anymore what I think it is or when I think it's going to happen. But it's something new and interesting. And I'm waiting back to hear from other people that I reached out to, like that one super psychic friend of mine. Because as much as she sees, like if anyone has noticed other people that might be leaking neon colors in their field, it would be her. So I'm curious to see what she has to say. Anyway, that's all we got for right now. I'm going to wrap this up. I got more pendants to make. If you want to get in touch with this, get some of the new stuff that's made to order for you. It's clumencreations.etsy.com. Chris and Lumen. And she's the one that came up with that intro, by the way. She just, sometimes the songs don't really have to have anything to do with her. She's just like, goes into dance girl mode. And she's just, I'm like, how many times we got to listen to this song, Lumen? Oh, I tell you what, she made me listen. She went through this Madonna phase where she wanted to listen to the Immaculate Collection like 400 freaking times. She just gets in little phases. She heard that Dua Lipa song and she just felt she had to make a freaking intro out of it. But we like to switch things up too. All right, that's all we got for right now. Links are in the description box below. Chris and Lumen. See you next time. I got you, moonlight.